Next speaker, Jank, CEO, Asia-Brazil Agro Alliance, based in Singapore.
Thank you very much. I represent the private sector too. I've been working for 20 years on the private sector at the food industry, and today the Asia-Brazil Agro Alliance is an initiative that brings the major agri-food Brazilian trade associations to Asia. Brazil is today the third largest exporter of agri-food products, and Asia is 50% of our exports. That's why we are here trying to do contacts with all the stakeholders in Asia. I will talk about 4 points, correct? First point, in terms of acceleration, private sector acceleration of health and nutrition. First is the question of the productivity gains, correct? We need more productivity, especially in agriculture. Yesterday, we saw that animal protein, pulses, and vegetables have the prices growing faster than staple foods. But these prices are even higher in countries that have low productivity levels and have border protections. For example, the meat consumption in Brazil is 100 kilos of meat per capita a year. In China is 60 kilos. In Indonesia is 14, and in India is 8 kilos. So it's a big difference. When we see the prices of beef in China are 50% higher at the consumer level compared to Brazil. And in Indonesia, 40% higher, which means that they are even more expensive in countries that have border protection and have low productivity levels. In chicken, it's 35% higher. The productivity growth in Brazil since 1998 is 3% a year, total factor productivity. In China is today around 3% a year too, but in Indonesia 1.5%, in India 1.3%. So productivity, more productivity means that people will eat more animal protein. Otherwise it will be very difficult. The second point, vertical coordination. We need to work on the contracts that link farmers, processors, and food chain distributors. Contracts between farmers and processors are evolving very quickly in terms of bringing to the contracts not only the price system, but also characteristics like productivity, food safety, animal health, for example, but not nutritional issues. I think we should include the nutritional issues on the contracts between all the participants of the food chain, especially on the downstream contracts, the contracts between the food industry and the distribution channels, correct? So I believe that we should move from the spot prices to a system where we bring food safety, quality, traceability, animal welfare, health, and nutrition to the contracts that link, for example, processors and the distributors, correct? For example, all the quick service restaurants, all the convenience products, this should be done with health and nutrition elements, and not only looking all the traditional things that we bring to these contracts between these players. Third point is about cold chains. Cold chains are extremely important. They represent a revolution on the distribution of perishable products. So we don't have modern retail if we don't have cold chains. Just to give you numbers, in Singapore, cold chains, households, 98% of the households have refrigerators. In Brazil, 95%. In China, 88%. In Vietnam, 58%. In Indonesia, 33%. And in India, 24%. So very little households have refrigeration. If you don't have refrigeration, it's difficult to have consumption of meats, fruits, vegetables, dairy, etc. So refrigeration is one of the accelerators. And finally, the last one, open trade. We need to have open doors to have a real competition between companies and have food security, food safety, affordability, sustainability, health, and nutrition together. Any countries cannot have all these elements if they keep the doors closed to trade. So more competition means good health, good nutrition levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.